Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I am so incredibly excited you're here today because we are about to embark on a seriously fast-paced, fascinating journey through time and geography. Get ready, because we are diving into a story of immense wealth, ancient empires, and a high-stakes standoff that completely reshaped the modern map of South Asia.
Now, what if I told you that one of India's absolute wealthiest tech and culture hubs almost wasn't part of India at all? Seriously, imagine if a massive, booming city right in the heart of the South Indian Peninsula was just its own completely independent country. It sounds like some alternate history sci-fi, right? But as we're going to see today, this actually came incredibly close to happening.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, a modern South Indian marvel.
Okay, let's dive into this. Today, the city of Hyderabad boasts a gross domestic product of around $83.5 billion. That is literally a staggering amount of economic power packed into just about 650 square kilometers. It's an absolute economic juggernaut, driving massive innovation and business on the global stage.
And if we break that down a bit further, it translates to a GDP per capita of roughly $6,100. To kind of put that wealth into perspective for a second, India as a whole has a massive economy of over $3 trillion. But Hyderabad, it stands out as a fiercely productive, hyper-wealthy powerhouse within that broader national picture.
But hey, it's not all just raw financial numbers. Hyderabad is an absolute cultural titan. You know Hollywood, right? And you've definitely heard of Bollywood. Well, Hyderabad is the proud home of Tollywood. It's a massive, incredibly influential Indian film industry based right there in the city, churning out some of the most spectacular cinema you'll ever see.
And culturally, it's just this incredibly vibrant melting pot. The city hums in a beautiful mix of Telugu, Hindi, and English. It has this really rich demographic blend, mostly Hindu, followed closely by Islam. And oh my gosh, we cannot talk about Hyderabad without talking about the food. It is literally world famous for its cuisine. We're talking iconic, mouth-watering biryani and halim, which is this beloved dish specially prepared during Ramadan across South Asia. So you're probably wondering, how exactly did this place become such a wealthy, diverse epicenter?
Well, to answer that, we're moving to Section 2, Origins and Ancient Sultans.
The roots of modern-day Hyderabad actually stretch way back to the 16th century. It was founded in 1591 by a Muslim ruler named Muhammad Quli Qutb Shah. He was the fifth sultan of an ancient Indian empire called the Kuchai dynasty. Under his vision, the city really started to take shape as this vital hub for trade and culture.
And those ancient rulers? They didn't just lay down some roads, they built absolute architectural masterpieces. Even today, Hyderabad is defined by these breathtaking historic monuments. It's home to the towering, iconic Charminar and the magnificent ruins of the Golconda Fort. This deep, rich heritage is basically baked right into the modern city streets. But our story takes a really sharp turn as we fast forward to the 20th century.
Which brings us to Section 3. The 1947 Independence Crisis. All right, picture this. It's August 1947. After nearly 2 centuries of colonial rule, the British Empire is finally packing up and India gains its independence. But the British exit was, well, it was incredibly messy. They left the subcontinent completely fractured. The departing rulers basically gave the local, semi-autonomous princely states a highly volatile multiple-choice question. Join the newly formed India, join the newly formed Islamic nation of Pakistan, or just remain completely independent. Now, what's really interesting about this is that while most of the region eventually consolidated, there were 5 distinct princely states that just outright refused to join India right out of the gate. Those 5 holdouts were Kerala, Junagadh, Bhopal, Kashmir, and yep, you guessed it, Hyderabad.
And this created a massive geographical headache. To make things even more complicated, Pakistan actually got its own city named Hyderabad, located in its Sindh province, which naturally absorbed into Pakistan after independence. But the Indian Hyderabad, it was geographically landlocked. I mean, it was completely surrounded by Indian territory, sitting right smack in the middle of South India.
So, what happens next? Let's get into Section 4, the standoff with the Nizam.
The guy at the absolute center of this defiance held the royal title of Nizam. His name was Mir Osman Ali Khan, and he had been ruling the state of Telangana, where Hyderabad is the capital, since 1911. Now, the Nizam was incredibly wealthy and deeply entrenched in his power, and he stubbornly demanded that Hyderabad become its own sovereign, independent nation, right in the middle of India. But let's be real, something had to give. A completely independent country sitting inside another sovereign nation was just not going to work out.
That tension brings us to our final act, Section 5, Operation Polo Integration.
The newly formed Indian leadership was actually super split on how to handle this defiance. On one hand, you had Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. He was an idealist, insisting they should talk to the holdouts using the language of peace, firmly believing they would naturally just choose to join the new successful nation. But on the other hand, you had his deputy prime minister, Sardar Patel. Patel was a lot more aggressive and pragmatic. So while Prime Minister Nehru was temporarily away in Europe, Patel stepped in and decided, nope, it is time to send in the Indian forces immediately.
Let's look at how this builds. More than a year after that August 1947 independence, the standoff finally hit a breaking point. On September 13, 1948, Deputy PM Patel officially ordered a military invasion of Hyderabad, codenamed Operation Polo, and it was lightning fast. Just 4 days later, on September 18th, the conflict abruptly ended and Hyderabad was officially integrated into India.
When the dust finally settled, Patel confirmed the integration was a success, and he did so with a serious bit of cheekiness. Using his prime minister's exact pacifist phrasing, he noted that Hyderabad had finally joined them, yes, that's right, with the language of peace. It was a heavily ironic nod to the literal 4-day military conquest that had actually just taken place.
It is just such a wild piece of history behind one of India's most dynamic modern cities. And it leaves us with a genuinely fascinating question to ponder as we wrap up today's explainer. How much of our modern world, the cities we visit, the cultures we celebrate, and the maps we just take for granted, is still quietly shaped by the fragile borders and hasty exits of fading empires? Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Keep asking those big questions, keep looking into the history behind the map, and I will catch you in the next explainer.